come tonight. By now you probably have heard about the shooting that happened on April 27th at Poway Synagogue in Poway, resulting in the loss of one person and 3 injuries. After this horrible incident and event, the library staff came together and we thought this over to see how we can support the community, because that's one of our guiding principles. We need to support our community that we serve. We developed a series of programs. One of them was last night, which was what to do in an active shooting incident. Last night, we had a story time today that one of the sheriff came and did story time for the kids this morning. And today, we had this opportunity to invite the Interfaith of Poway to help us make sense of this incident. To us, a lot of this is the ignorance of the different cultures and faiths that compromise the city of San Diego. And we believe that the knowledge is a way to counterbalance this and of coming of all of us together. So I try to just cut it here and let Sherry, President, take over from here. Please welcome her.
Thank you, Farah. And welcome to everyone. I'm Reverend Sherry Batir, the current president of the Poway Interfaith team, regularly known as POINT, P-O from Poway, I-N from Interfaith, and T for team. So often you'll hear us referred to just as POINT. And so we were so happy to get the invitation from Farah in the library. Our executive director, Reverend Dr. Abigail Albert, reached out to me. She said, Sherry, the dates are soon. What should we do? And I said, let's do it. And so then we brought it to the whole team, and they said, oh, of course we're going to do this. So I appreciate you being here, and we work for a time when this is not needed, that we just know, how to respond, because there is no crisis, but there is only friendship. And so that is what we hope for and pray for at this time. And so we'll introduce a little bit more. Farah gave you some of the background, and I will be doing that in a moment, introducing our panel. But first, I'd like to invite up Carolyn Reynolds from the Baha'is of Poway to lead us in an opening prayer.
My name is Carolyn, and I'm representing the Baha'is. And the prayer is for unity. O God, my God, unite the hearts of thy servants, and reveal to them thy great purpose. May they follow thy commandments and abide in thy law. Help them, O God, in their endeavor, and grant them strength to serve thee. O God, leave them not to themselves, but guide their steps by the light of thy knowledge, and cheer their hearts by thy love. Verily, thou art their helper and their Lord.
Thank you, Carolyn. Beautiful prayer. And so, again, I'm sure all of you are aware, Farah mentioned the Chabad shooting, which I know all of us are just still reeling from. I know I am. And just shortly before that, there was the vandalism and fire at the Majid in Escondido. And then, as I was driving here tonight, I was reminded about the corner of Poway Road, a community road where many people got together last December after there was vandalism, and fortunately was halted at that on a family who was displaying their Hanukkah decorations right here in Poway. And so often we want to reach out and say, how can we know that not all of us are against one another, but we want to come together in love and unity. And so that's what this is about. how to respond, and also hopefully we'll learn a little bit more about one another. Point and others, Point has how many congregations now? 18? 18 congregations and a couple dozen individual members. And if you are a member of a faith congregation and would like to join, please see me or Executive Director Reverend Abigail Albert, or anyone else with one of the Interfaith stoles. They'll be happy to help you on that. We meet the second Thursday of each month at one of the faith communities in Poway that's a member. So you are welcome to do that as a faith community or as an individual. Tonight, we are here because when one of us is injured, all of us is injured. And so together we are stronger. We know that it is a better community for all people. Our speakers will address the following questions. What crisis have you experienced, either personally as a faith community in the past? What did you or would you do as a leader in your faith in a crisis in this magnitude? What did or would your congregation or community do? And how did your faith or belief help you through the crisis? So you may hear a little bit about the tenets of some of these beliefs. And then, most importantly maybe, I don't know most important, but why a lot of us are here is how would you like others to respond, people outside your faith community, in case there is a crisis within your faith community. And I have the privilege of introducing our panel, our esteemed panel. We will begin over here to my left. We have Mr. Jim Davies from the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. He is the Public Affairs Director. Is that right? Okay. And Jim Davies was born in Detroit, Michigan, and raised nearby. He served in numerous church settings and callings, including a 2-year mission to the Italy North Missions. He was a seminary teacher, a bishop, and a service missionary. He currently serves as the Poway State Director of Public Affairs, and Jim has practiced ophthalmology in the San Diego area since 1985, is a past president of the Cystic Fibrosis Foundation, San Diego chapter, and has been a Boy Scout leader and a volunteer with numerous charity eye surgery organizations. He married Rebecca Baker in 1975, and they're still married. They are the parents of 7 children and grandparents of 19, with 3 more due to arrive soon. Please welcome Jim Davies.
Shalom. Salam. Hello. It's great to be here. This is kind of an interesting and difficult assignment. So it's going to be very interesting to see how things develop. I think before I launch into what I wanted to say, it's important to give context to what I have to present, to help you understand a little bit about the local organization of the church. You heard the word stake, not the kind you eat. And recently, I hope some of you had the opportunity to go to the Tabernacle of Moses. There's my chief setter-upper, Yusuf. We had a great time setting that up, and part of that was driving stakes into the ground to hold up the panels that went all the way around. Those stakes were there to give structure, to give strength. And then the cords were attached to the stakes and then to the structure itself. And so this word comes from Isaiah, from the 54th chapter, where he wrote, "Enlarge the place of thy tent, and let them stretch forth the curtains of thine habitation. Spare not, lengthen thy cords, and strengthen thy stakes." We have presiding over this Poway stake, a stake president. This is someone who is probably putting in, what would you think, Juan, 30 hours a week, perhaps something like that. It pays great. No, it's not. No, there is no pay. We have a lay ministry, and that calling will be for about 10 years. Robert Walton is our stake president. The Poway stake is a geographic area that goes to I-15 on the west, Ramona and Julian on the east, to the south, Scripps Poway Parkway, and then Lake Hodges. I'm sorry, is that better? Okay. Lake Hodges on the north. So everyone within those boundaries who is a member of the church is a member of the Poway stake. Now, with respect to disasters or emergencies, we have a comprehensive plan in place. Each stake does. And by the way, a stake president oversees, in the Poway stake, we have 9 different wards. A ward is a congregation of between 350 and 450 people. We have an opportunity, we think of the church kind of like a hospital, where we have an opportunity to practice on each other. Sherry mentioned that I've been practicing ophthalmology since 1985. One of these days I hope to get it right. Practice long enough, you'll get it figured out. But we try to learn the principles of the gospel of Jesus Christ by serving one another, by loving one another. And that does not extend, hopefully, just to members of the church, but should extend to all within our community and beyond. So there are 9 different boards. There are 3 branches. 1 branch in Julian, there aren't a whole lot of members up there, beautiful place. We have 2 Spanish-speaking branches as well. Now, how do you respond to something like what was faced or what occurred at Poway? I don't know. I think until we're there, we don't really know, but I think that as a community, we did a more than a respectable job. What can you do? Of course, we were not there to stop the horrible thing from happening. Fortunately, there were people trained who knew how to intervene. They were ready to do that. And I think the class that's going on now is something important that all should learn. But when we think of some sort of a disaster, first of all, the question is asked, what crisis have we experienced in the past? I think as a church, historically, we can look at significant persecution that included mobbing, destroying homes, destroying churches, murder, expulsion from Ohio, then expulsion from Nauvoo, Illinois, which at the time was a city that was larger than Chicago, expulsion from Missouri. In fact, there was an extermination order that was signed by the governor of the state. Things have changed a whole lot. You know, that was in the 1830s, 1840s. And in order to escape that, Joseph Smith, our founding leader, he and his brother were martyred. Brigham Young, you've heard that name perhaps, became the president of the church, and he's the one who led the church into the wilderness to the valley of the Great Salt Lake. We don't see anything like that today. Is it possible it'll happen again? I suppose it is. Hopefully not. But more than likely, the kinds of challenges that we'll face will be fires, will be earthquakes. We're all waiting for the big one, and I think we're on the right side of the fault line to miss all of the damage that others to the north of us will experience. But what will we do when that happens? Maybe we won't, any of us be alive, I don't know. But we had the fires of 2003, 2007, there were others that followed. We have in plan, each stake has their own disaster preparedness plan. It's really quite comprehensive. I'm not going to read through that for you. If you want more information, please feel free to ask. But the Poway Stake Plan is about 18 pages long and goes into all sorts of contingencies, beginning with identifying what the crisis might be. I've mentioned some that it could be. Gathering quickly the critical information pertinent to that particular crisis. Outlining assignments and procedures. Each of these units that I mentioned, each ward, each branch, has people assigned in them to be in charge of communications or acting on directives that are coming from the stake down. we keep close tabs on members of the church. We know where they are. Periodically, we'll have an emergency communications exercise. There are people with ham radio expertise, for example, who are going around and checking on everybody. This is about once a quarter that that's done. And with that practice, when something happens, we'll be in better shape. Cell phones are probably not going to be working if the problem is big enough, so the ham radios will be very important. Now, what did you or would you do as a leader in your faith in a crisis of this magnitude? Personally, I'm not going to be one who will be leading the charge on this, but I would step in and do my part. I have families that I minister to, and my first responsibility would be to see where they are, to see if there are any needs there, and then to report that up the line. And that same sort of thing is going to be going on all over the place. Yesterday, some of you may have heard in the news about a young woman in Medford, Oregon. Did anybody see that? And some of you know Tim Knoll. That was Tim's daughter. And Cammie, so she was lost. She'd taken 3 of her children hiking, and they couldn't find her. So of course, you imagine the very worst. Well, fortunately, calm down. It turned out very well. She was not in an area with cell phone coverage. The van got stuck. Everybody's fine. But Cammie grew up just around the corner from us. And she's part of the family, essentially. So you know how very personal something like this can become. Well, the church up there jumped into action immediately. Fortunately, they were coordinating with local authorities, and this one didn't last very long, and it did not end the way, sadly, I imagined it might have ended. So we have become known throughout the nation and throughout the world as a responsive and able ally in times of need. The tsunami some years ago in Indonesia, earthquakes in Peru, earthquakes in Japan, wherever they may be, the church is ready to mobilize. They are working very, very closely with FEMA, with the American Red Cross, such that when these disasters occur, there are trucks ready to go, laden with goods and ready to move. Now, how did faith or belief help us through crisis? Again, we have never, and well, not in recent history, I pray that we never will experience anything like that, experienced at Poway. Howard K., by the way, wonderful rheumatologist. Howard and I shared many patients. And Lori, of course, his wife, lost her life to a senseless act. How we deal with that, I don't know until we get there. But we have to be prepared. Again, and I'm going to go back to the prophet Joseph Smith. He was once asked by a reporter from Chicago, how do you govern your people? He said, we teach them correct principles and let them govern themselves. I believe that this nation was founded on great and inspired principles. Our Constitution has remained in place in spite of many challenges. It will continue to be challenged. I believe that those founders were inspired, but they understood that we have a dual nature. All of us want to do good. We want to do the right things. But on the other side, there is a dark side to us. I think we need to recognize that. They did, and the freedoms that were established, for example, freedom of religion, is there to teach us how to govern ourselves, how to develop personal, private virtue, so that when the storms of life come, we will be better prepared to handle those storms and to be better servants of our brothers and sisters in the community. And as Sherry pointed out, we are all brothers and sisters. We're in this together. So, just one final comment, and that is, how would
I think just in the way that we have witnessed, just knowing that we care for one another, we love one another, we're accepting of our differences, and in spite of those, we can together do great things. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Dean. Our next speaker is Rabbi Gabby Arad of the Jewish tradition, and she is the senior rabbi at the Jewish Collaborative of San Diego. So Cantor and Rabbi Gabby Arad was invested as a cantor in 2003 and ordained as a rabbi in 2006, both by the Hebrew Union College Institute of Religion. Having grown up in the Reform movement, Gabby knew at a young age that she wanted to be both a cantor and a rabbi. Gabby began her Hebrew Union college career in Israel. And in 2005, Gabby finished her rabbinical school studies, commuting from DC to New York City, gave birth to her beautiful first daughter, Noah, and worked for a year as the cantor at the Charles E. Smith Jewish Day School. In 2008, Gabby accepted the position of senior cantor at Temple Sinai in Roslyn, New York, where she served for 4 years. Gabby truly feels that her path has led her to the creation of the Jewish Collaborative San Diego. She has served in many communities and has met many amazing congregants. With all her experience, she could not be more excited about creating this dream Jewish community. Gabby resides in Carlsbad, California, with her 2 beautiful daughters now, Noah and Maya. Rabbi?
Wow. So I was asked to represent the Jewish community, which in Jewish tradition you say, well, I can do it on one leg, but that won't do it justice. It's very hard. First of all, I have so many things to say. It's very hard to represent an entire religion. In the Jewish religion, you have Jews who are secular, you have Jews who are very traditional, you have Jews who love Israel, you have Jews who don't believe in the state of Israel, you have Jews who keep to themselves, you have Jews who are into interfaith. I mean, the spectrum is huge. And just as I wouldn't want anyone out there saying that they represent the entire Jewish community, I'm going to say the same thing. I do not represent the entire Jewish community of the world. I represent my path and my community, which is the Jewish Collaborative of San Diego. So what crisis have you experienced in the past? To me, every crisis experienced by any faith organization is a crisis that is experienced by my community. Any attack on a faith-based organization or community, to me, is an attack on us. And that is truly how I feel. On a personal basis, I was in New York during 9/11, and that was the closest I came to a crisis as far as religion-based crisis. I don't know, I don't want to get into that. But I do remember that as a student, I was still in school studying to be a rabbi. I had no idea what to do in this crisis. We stood on the streets of New York. We were down, all the way down, and we watched as the 2 towers fell, and I had no clue what would happen next. Our teacher came out, he was a rabbi, he was the head of the school, and he quickly told us all to get inside and to go into the chapel. And we went to pray. He said, when in doubt, when in crisis, you pray. There was nothing to do except be together. And to me, that was the essence of community, and that's where it started. We couldn't solve anything at that point. We couldn't make it go away. There was nothing we could do except be together in that chapel. An hour later, about 30 of us walked to the nearest hospital and gave blood. And so for me, it's about prayer, community, and then going into action where action can be taken. You know, the question of what our community would do, again, is the kind of question I can't answer, because you don't know until you're in that situation. I do know that community and being together is very important to us, so that's probably the first thing I would do, is to just gather everyone together. But I want to move off these questions a little bit and into what's actually happening. And what's actually happening is that the interfaith community that I am a part of, and definitely a part of this one too, we decided 2 years ago that we wanted to move from just having events together to actually getting to know each other. And so we began to have these events where we would have mixers and have time to just be able to eat and talk together and get to know each other, and it worked. Over the 2 years, we really made these deep connections. And why I'm telling you this is because over the past year of all these crises happening within our community, none of us felt alone. When a crisis hit any one of our communities, we felt like we were in it together. And to me, that is what interfaith work is all about. I don't want to just be in my congregation dealing with our problems by ourselves. To me, I feel safest when I know that I'm friends with people from all walks of life, all religion, and that we all have each other's backs. And that is what's happened in the past 2 years. That is what has given me respite, comfort, and definitely a lot of healing. So I really appreciate the work of the Interfaith. I want to read you a note that I sent out to my congregation after Chabad, because I didn't have any words. So it took me a few days. And I said, it's taken me the weekend to really process the tragic event at Chabad in Poway. What actions do I take? How do I comfort my community? How do I relieve the fears that well up from such an event? And I can only come up with one message. We are not alone. I can't alleviate our fears. I can't control the hatred that exists in our world. I cannot do enough to make what happened go away. What I can do is remind you of the love that does exist right here in our community. We all have each other's backs. We are all here to continue our vision of love, acceptance, sisterhood, and brotherhood. Yes, we must take a look at our society and take steps to heal the cancer within, but we must also continue what we are already doing, and that is reliving the message that we are not alone every single day. And to me, that is all I can do. One thing I want to bring from the, I feel like you're going to start the music and then I have to when I was teaching as a student, we were teaching the kids the prayer for morning. And these kids were about 9, 10 years old, and one of the parents came up to the rabbi and said, "How dare you teach this prayer to my child? He's just a child. You don't teach my child a prayer about mourning." And I was like, oh my God, what is he gonna say? And the rabbi said, in our tradition, we believe that right now, as a child, they are learning for learning's sake. They are collecting the tools that they are gonna need later in life. So when he needs that prayer for mourning, he will have it. And to me, that is what building an interfaith community is all about. We don't just build it in times of crises. We build it in the good times, so that when a crisis comes, when we need each other, we're already connected. And that is how I have truly felt in the past year. Thank you.
I have the inauspicious job of trying to keep us on schedule. Imam Taha Hassan is currently serving as the Imam and Director of the Islamic Center of San Diego. He joined the Islamic Center of San Diego in September 2004 from the Colorado Muslim Youth Foundation, where he served as a youth instructor. Imam Taha graduated from the Institute of Islamic Studies at the University of Algiers, Algeria. He also holds a master's degree in theology and Islamic studies from the Graduate Theological Foundation in South Bend, Indiana. Imam Taha Hussein is representing the Muslim community and is part of the Islamic Center San Diego, and I've said it multiple times. So you've got it, yeah.
I'd like to start by greeting you all with the greeting of Islam, the greeting of peace, saying Assalamu alaikum, which means peace be with you. Now, if you would like to reply to my greeting, you may say the following in Arabic. So please say after me. Wa alaikum. Assalam. Great. You just told me, and peace be with you too. All right. Thank you so much. And I really would like to give a huge thanks to Point for putting together this event, extremely important at this time. I know that as religious organizations and faith-based communities, we are part of Point. We have been working together for a long time, so we have a very solid, strong relationship, but still, we need to bring more people around this initiative and just to learn from one another and just to strengthen this interfaith relationship that truly is benefiting a lot of faith-based communities. So I blended all these questions together and I came up with the following points. So I'm not going to go like question by question, but I would like to say the following. Number one, we believe that the whole humanity is one family. Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, said, كُلُّكُمْ لِآدَمْ وَآدَمْ مِنْ تُرَابٍ. You are all from Adam, and Adam was created from clay. So there is no superiority of a white over a black or a black over a white, an Arab over a non-Arab or a non-Arab over an Arab, which means that you are all equal, you are all one family. What does that mean? It means that in all circumstances, you should act as a family, members of the same family. Whenever part of this family is hurt, the entire family should feel the pain and take an action in order to alleviate this pain and to bring comfort to the portion of the family that got hurt. Number two, human dignity and the sacredness of the human life is a non-questionable principle. It is something that we don't question. We should never question the sacredness of the human life. Every single human being is entitled to dignity and respect. That's why in the Quran, Almighty God says, therefore, whoever kills one soul, it's as if he killed the entire humanity. And whoever saves one soul, as if he saved the entire humanity. So Rabbi, when you have said that we feel whatever is happening to any other faith community, this is what we mean. This is what we mean, and this is what we have felt. Regardless of where the tragedy struck, regardless where the terrorist attack happened, all of us, we had the same feeling. It's as if it happened within our own community, within our own family. So, no matter where the hate, crime, and terrorist attack strikes, it's felt everywhere. So, we have seen in the last few months the tragedy happening in Pittsburgh, in the synagogue, and we have felt it right here. further. It happened in Christchurch in New Zealand. Believe me, we felt it as if it happened right here in San Diego. It happened a few years ago in Wisconsin at the Sikh temple. We felt it. It happened just recently in the Chabad congregation. We felt it. It's as if it happened inside the Islamic Center of San Diego. Why? Again, because we are one family and we believe in the sacredness of the human life. Number 3, we should not wait until a tragedy occurs to start reaching out to one another. We should not. We have to continuously build a healthy and strong relationship and reaching out to one another to understand one another much better. And this mutual understanding will obviously lead all of us to mutual respect. When we know one another, we will respect one another. So when we know one another, whenever a tragedy happens, coming together in solidarity will be very organic. Will be very organic. I mean, I'm saying this based on my own experience. Whenever I hear about something that happened within the Jewish community, within the African American community, within the Latino community, any other community, the first thing that comes to my mind is pick up the phone and talk to people who represent that community. I'm here, we felt it, what can we do? I'm ready right now. What do you want me to do? And we have done this. And when the Christchurch happened, when the Escondido, attempt of arson happened, I had faith leaders right here in San Diego picking up the phone early that morning just to tell me, Imam, I just heard about it, and I want you to keep in mind that I'm here, ready. What do you want me to do at this moment? People from all walks of life, leaders and clergy from all faith communities, in addition to law enforcement, in addition to elected officials. And this is what we call a community. And this solidarity didn't come from nowhere or haphazard. This solidarity is a result of a long and continuous work, very hard work of all of us, reaching out to one another, inviting one another to events like this. So the result will be as it was described. So, my dear brothers and sisters, we are here to just strengthen this relationship and to understand one another, so whenever something happens, it becomes the thinking about standing in solidarity becomes something that comes organically. And the last point that I wanted to mention here is, we have done a lot of standing together and praying together and standing in solidarity and sympathy and all that stuff. But we need to do one more step as faith leaders. We need to think about how to prevent these kind of things from happening. And I mean here by getting involved and being active with our elected officials and do our best to tackle these problems from the roots. Not only wait for these tragedies to happen and just pray together. Thank you so much.
Thank you. I just was informed that Lakshmi, you've got another engagement tonight, right? Okay, so, but we're going to go a little out of order here. I just got permission from my sister Gangadeep here, so I'm okay. You're okay? Okay, well then we'll stick with our order, okay. It's all about communication, right? So I now have the privilege of introducing my friend and sister Gangadeep Kaur, of the Sikh tradition. And she is also a wealth management advisor and certified business exit planner with Westpac Wealth Partners in La Jolla. She is very active in the interfaith community, sitting on several boards. Currently, she is the Vice President of the Sikh Foundation San Diego, which is the oldest Sikh temple in San Diego, located right here in Poway, where she is also a founding member. She is dedicated to ensuring every voice is equally heard and believes that the empowerment of the marginalized or disenfranchised people, such as women, LGBTQ, people of color, and or a variety of ethnicities, is integral to the well-being of society. She is also a member of Point and the Interreligious Council of San Diego. Welcome, Gangadi.
Thank you. I thank the Poway Library and Poway Interfaith team for putting this wonderful dialogue together and allowing us to be able to speak on this very prescient issue that we've been facing for a while now, but particularly in the last couple of years. It's been a very difficult few years. Hate seems to be winning over love, and which is unfortunate because really there are many more of us that love and very few that hate, but the voice of hate seems to be much louder. I'm here today to speak about the Sikh faith and what's been going on and in lieu of everything that's going on with our sister and brother faiths as well. The Sikh faith this year is celebrating its 550th year of Genesis. Our founding father was born in 1469, so this is a very, very integral year for us. And one of the things that the Sikh faith was founded on, the most basic tenet, is that everyone is equal regardless of caste, creed, gender. And why that's important, we don't think that one needs to be Sikh to attain whatever our spiritual goal here is like. We believe that every religion is perfect. Every being and with their distinctions are perfect. And that we are here for solidarity and to fight for one another and for against oppression of one another, for one another's love and our independent right to whatever spiritual, secular goal here on earth that we may have. Having said that, there's 26 million of us, only 3 million outside. The Sikh faith starts with this philosophy in 1460, in the 1470s, 80s, of equality of all, regardless of distinction. And it goes to our 10th prophet, who dies in 1708, of a physical form. That physical form is the uniform of a soldier, a saint soldier. And so it starts with the internal of the philosophy to the external of an army of God defending everything that God has created. So what has happened is these articles of faith that are mandatory for initiated Sikhs and encouraged for all Sikhs have now become a visible uniform of hatred, of being basically out in the universe and the public as a target. And so over the last 19 years, we've had two significant incidents in the Sikh community. One was after 9/11, one of the first hate crimes that happened in the United States was a couple of days later, where a gentleman, Balbir Sodhi, was gunned in front of his gas station in Arizona. And then preceding that, after that, in San Diego, we had a Sikh woman who was actually stabbed at a light off of Miramar Road. We have so many incidences of hate throughout this time. About 7 years ago, you all know, and Imam mentioned this, in Wisconsin, we had Oak Creek Massacre, where a person walked into a Sikh temple who was preparing for the Sunday afternoon services. They were preparing the community kitchen, and there was a Sunday school going on, and he gunned down 6 individuals. It was horrific for us because what it reminded us that even though we've been in the US for well over 130 years, we were not a fabric of society that was easily recognizable, but a target. Just like other communities who are different and distinct, we are all targets. And so since then, we have gone through exercises of, hey, it could be us here in our temple, here in Poway, how to protect ourselves. Because we don't convert We never went out to educate people on who the Sikhs were. We just existed among society. What these incidences and what the temperament of the country have led to is us having to go out and educating people on who we are. Because by education, hopefully what your goal is to see less fear in people of the differences. One of the things that Interfaith Dialogue has lended to is we have met people and we've become friends with people from different faith traditions, and that's been instrumental. And our spiritual context is because we defended for historically the rights of others to their religion. We are known as the warriors. In India, we are a majority in the law enforcement, in the military. Our historical background is in those fields. Unfortunately, in the United States, one of the things that we've been arguing for and fighting for over the last 50 years is our right to be in the armed forces as recognizable Sikhs. This is important to us. This is our country. We want to be there. We want to defend it and its ideals of freedom and truth. And so for us to be able to do so, this government has to allow us to be able to be a participant. It's not such a big deal in the UK. It's not such a big deal in Canada. It's not such a big deal in India to look different, to have a turban, to have articles of faith on you, but it has been a challenge here. We seem to have made some inroads in the last few years, but still that's an issue. But one of the other things that's been very useful to us is the dialogue, because like I said, by talking about these issues, we've been able to get quite far. Unfortunately, what I've discovered in my 19 years of being in interfaith dialogue since 9/11 is we haven't gone from dialogue to action. We seem to speak in this room, for instance, are believers in equality, in justice. You probably do not have somebody that needed to be here to hear us speak today. We're not getting out to those people. So what's probably the most important thing is, if we are going to make a difference as a collective, we need to stop doing the dialogues within the believers of truth and justice. And we need to be out there. So our love needs to be louder than their hate. Now I challenge us. When are we going to make that happen? How are we going to make that happen? Which one of us is actually going to get together and figure out, let's get the positive messages out and not worry about the negatives right now? Because if we go out and say, hey, look at us, how many of us there are in magnitude, do you not think they would fear us? That's fear, our love. So with that, thank you so much for allowing me
to See, we have wisdom throughout the table, and it continues with my sister Lakshmi Sukumar of the Hindu tradition. Lakshmi is the program leader for the San Diego chapter of the Chinmaya Mission, a worldwide organization whose primary focus is to teach the ancient wisdom of Hindu philosophy, Vedanta, and Hindu culture to children and adults. She oversees the Sunday school for the children from before kindergarten through high school and gives talks on the Bhagavad Gita. I know, I practice it so good. Say it for me.
Bhagavad Gita.
I know, I don't want to say that incorrectly. I don't want to dishonor, for adults, and also conducts Vedanta studies classes for adults throughout the week. Besides teaching and training workshops for teachers within the mission throughout the United States and Canada, she also conducts Hinduism workshops for school teachers, interfaith communities, and other interested groups, and makes presentations at local schools as needed. She has compiled several books for teaching children and adults. Lakshmi, I welcome you.
Namaste. I salute the divinity present in you, which is the same as in me. Now, our presence in San Diego started in 2001 when Sukumar and I moved from the Bay Area to San Diego. So we've been here since 2001. And we came to San Diego for a very special reason, because the founder of Chinmaya Mission, Swami Chinmayananda, left his body in San Diego. And so we came here to continue the work. 6 years ago, we acquired our own building and center here in Poway. And what we teach is the Hindu philosophy and culture in our school. I will start with just the Hindu principles, the beliefs, and then address how we go about it. The Hindu tradition, Hindu scriptures talk of the Creator as a cosmic, universal, pulsating organism. One pulsating organism, universal person in which everything and being resides. Anything hurt is like a part of our own body. So in the body of God resides everyone, from the mountains and rivers to the plants and the birds and the animals and the human beings, regardless of the place we come from. So anything that hurts one, hurts all. As all my friends here have said already, echoing the same thing. So how do we prepare ourselves for anything like this? We really cannot prepare for a particular incident. The entire philosophy is based on prevention, and regardless of the problem, whether it is in a family or in a society, organization, nation, or the world, regardless of the problem, the solution is only one. That comes from a spiritual perspective. The values. The disturbances caused in society are from disturbed minds, ignorant minds, unhappy minds. So that is what we address in our schools, the value education, to give our children the spiritual values from a very young age. It is not enough to start when they are in their middle school and high school years. This has to start from when they are very young. Our guru would say, catch them young. So, what do we do in our community? Besides doing all the planning on how to protect the building, the gates and the alarms or all those things, it's preparing ourselves, because our children are the ambassadors. They go out to the schools, they meet other students from other cultures. So that is where we want to create the harmony. And focusing on that and addressing even the first sign of any unrest in any child is the basic solution we focus on. I work with the teachers to really give them that love, because love is the only antidote to all these problems. And the entire purpose or motto in our Sunday school education is devotion to God. And who's that God? That one in whom all are. So with that, I think we can prepare ourselves and rest assured that God will guide us with the right action at the right time. Because this is not a one-day thing, it's an everyday preparation in our view of life, our understanding of what that God principle is, our understanding of who everybody is, and that is all we can do in our perspective. So that's what we work on. And as far as the question, what would you like the people not of your faith, I think that's what every faith aims at, and we will know how to connect from heart to heart at the right moment, and we rest. Thank you.
Well, and our final panelist is the Venerable Soshi Schubert Sensei of the Buddhist tradition. She was born in Hildesheim, Germany in 1965, and I know, I don't speak German either. After receiving a master's degree in architecture in Munich, she went to Japan in search of an authentic Zen master. She found her teacher in Harada Shodo Roshi, abbot of Sojinji Monastery in Okayama, Japan. After a short return to Germany, she returned to Sojinji Zen Monastery of Japan for a full-time training and remained there for the next 20 years. After a visit to Hidden Valley Zen Center in San Marcos, in the summer of 2012, she was asked by Mitra Roshi and Harada Shodo Roshi to come to the Hidden Valley Zen Center as a junior teacher and teacher in residence. Her Buddhist name Soshi means the origin, in a religious sense, of true happiness. Sochi, I welcome you.
Thank you very much, and I'm almost speechless now because so many good things have already been said, so let me start with a very simple gesture. Maybe this says it all. I got this from you, sir. So, I like the statement that some people have made here, which is, I don't know. And I think that is much more important than we may think it is. The openness in this question, I think, is very important. Rather than jumping into not very thought out action, to stop and breathe and review and feel and sense. So I think the not knowing is not a bad thing. And what I come up with as what I would like others to do for us if something happened to a Buddhist community, I think it's asking and helping us ask and find the way and ask the question together. There's one specific thing that I like to work with, which is PTSD prevention. I think that's something that's important and helpful to be aware of, because very quick, immediate action can help prevent very long-term consequences on the psychological level. I like something that Abigail sent out in her email, which all of us have already repeated in some form or other. What is done to one of us is done to all of us. Now, it's very easy to say that and to mentally understand it. But in order to put that into direct action, we have to be really in that place where we are all one. And I think this is asking us to enter more deeply and more experientially into our own faith. Because when we come from within the deepest possible experience of our own faith, we don't need to remind ourselves that we are one. We could not hurt somebody else because we are sensing our connection. So that already speaks a lot to prevention as well. And the reason why I became an ordained nun is because I, as a teenager, and many teenagers do, I wanted to make the world a better place. And there were so many things and so many possibilities and so many ways of doing it that it's very easy to become distracted and very hard to decide which one to take. And looking into all these different ways, I realized that working on myself and then sharing what I have experienced and found is likely most effective, even though we may not see how effective it actually is. So I would say that prevention and our own spiritual practice, of course not in a sense of running away and hiding in our own bubble, but deepening our own spiritual practice is much more powerful than we think if it leads to experience and is not just repeating words or following some kind of faith or belief system blindly. Another thing that I encounter in the work with people in meditation is that it's very hard for many, if not all of us, to love ourselves. Now here we are asked to love our neighbor as ourselves. Well, how is your inner critic today? Do you hate your inner critic, or, you know? So I think that's an important thing to explore for each of us. How do we deal with the aspects of ourselves that we are afraid of, that we don't like, that we don't want to know, that we don't want to feel? And feeling, to me, is another point. In this society, everything, the media, the advertising, is asking us to look outside, to entertain ourselves more, basically to run away from feeling and sensing in our own bodies. And that leads to dissociation, which is also sometimes used in psychology, where we rather are in our head than in our bodies. And it's very easy to hate somebody else if we get in our head about our ideas that we have about each other, whereas if we are really centered in our bodies and in our being, we are more connected with what's really there and not just the thoughts and ideas about things. And I think that's very important to cultivate, and I think that can be cultivated again in all the different faiths in various ways. So loving ourselves and getting more in touch with ourselves, not running away from uncomfortable feelings and switching on the television or using our phone all the time. I think that's very important also for the next generation, the degree to which social media are used and the separation that it creates between people, I think is something that does not help with the prevention of violent acts in general. So being able to feel ourselves, I think, is a basis to being able to have any empathy for another person. On a much deeper level, I would like to point out that, to me, the oneness that we are all can be experienced in an instant before thought, where we really see and feel what's really there. And this instant we usually look for far away, and we call it God, or call it Buddha, or call it clear mind, or call it different names. But it's really very simple. A baby, when it sees a tree or a person for the first time, has no conditioning. There is no name for what it sees. There is no past experience. It has nothing to look no way to talk about it. So the mind actually, and each of others' mind, can function like a mirror. I really like this image. The mirror reflects what's there, and when it's gone, it's gone. and it has no judgment whatsoever. It reflects what's there as it is. Dog shit still smells bad, but it reflects it as it is. It reflects a flower that we may call beautiful as it is. So if each of you tune into this moment before thought, before we project, before our conditioning comes into play, before we add our past experience into our interaction, then we can remove what divides us. We can take off our different hats and different colored glasses and really actually experience this way of perceiving that unites us all. Thank you.
Well, I am just amazed. I know most of these people for quite a time now, and I know that there's probably lots of questions you guys have. But because we've talked about action and community building, I want to give us an opportunity to do that for just a few minutes. I try to honor everyone's time and things. But if you would, with just one or two other people around you, I want you to brainstorm or share some of the ideas that you have come up with here, or that come out through the next few minutes of your conversations with others, and introduce yourselves. Again, we talked about building relationships, so let's do that. At least a simple introduction, not long because we don't have a lot of time, and so I'm making that clear. But I want you to think about and discuss what learnings, what wisdom, what golden nuggets from these that are presented tonight will you take with you to your congregations, to your faith community, to your social justice group, to whatever it is. What will you take with you from here that will make a difference, that may ripple out to the next action? Okay? So again, just with groups of 3, 4 maybe, get together and share. What are the highlights that you are going to take with you from this place into your communities? So I give you some time to do that.
Tell us how much time.
We have 5 minutes. Maybe 6.
All right, well.